Welcome to History with Herodotus, where we delve into the depths of human experience, unearthing the complexities and triumphs of our collective past. Today, we embark on a journey to explore one of the most pivotal and harrowing events of World War II, the Siege of Leningrad, a testament to human resilience in the face of unimaginable adversity. It is the summer of 1941, and the world is ablaze with conflict. Nazi Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, has been expanding its territorial grip on Europe, leaving a trail of destruction and despair in its wake. The invasion of the Soviet Union, codenamed Operation Barbarossa, marks a significant turning point in the war, as it opens an eastern front that will prove to be one of the bloodiest theaters of conflict in human history. At the heart of this narrative is Leningrad, now known as St. Petersburg, a city of unparalleled beauty and cultural significance, often referred to as the Venice of the North due to its majestic canals and architectural marvels. Founded by Peter the Great in 1703 as a window to Europe, Leningrad has been a beacon of Russian culture, boasting some of the world's most renowned museums, theaters, and educational institutions. As the German army advances towards Leningrad, the city prepares for the impending onslaught. The Soviet government, led by Joseph Stalin, implements a series of measures aimed at fortifying the city and evacuating its most vulnerable citizens. However, despite these efforts, Leningrad remains vastly underprepared for the siege that is to come. The people of Leningrad, a diverse population of artists, intellectuals, workers, and soldiers, are about to face one of the most brutal tests of endurance in modern history. Among them are figures like Dmitri Shostakovich, the celebrated composer who would later immortalize the siege in his Symphony No. 7, and Anna Akhmatova, the poet whose verse would capture the essence of Leningrad's suffering. As the summer of 1941 wears on, the German army, bolstered by Finnish forces to the north, begins its encirclement of Leningrad. The Soviet defense lines are tested as never before, with battles raging across the outskirts of the city. The Germans aim to capture Leningrad, not just to eliminate it as a military stronghold, but to deal a crushing psychological blow to the Soviet Union. By September 1941, the noose around Leningrad has tightened, with the Germans cutting off all land routes into and out of the city. The first winter of the siege is particularly brutal, with temperatures plummeting to as low as 30 degrees Celsius and food supplies dwindling to almost nothing. The people of Leningrad are forced to endure unimaginable hardships, from eating glue and leather belts to survive, to watching as their city, once a beacon of culture and hope, descends into darkness and despair. Yet, even amidst such unrelenting suffering, there are acts of defiance, courage, and solidarity that define the spirit of Leningrad. The determination of its people to preserve their cultural heritage, the bravery of those who risked everything to keep the city's heart beating, and the resilience that allows them to hold on to hope in the face of overwhelming despair. These are the themes that will emerge as we delve deeper into the narrative of the Siege of Leningrad. As the siege begins to take its toll, with death stalking every street and hunger gnawing at every belly, the people of Leningrad find themselves facing not just a military enemy, but also the very elements themselves. The winter of 1941 to 1942 becomes a season of unmitigated horror, where the city's survival hangs by a thread, threatened by both the external forces of war and the internal ravages of hunger and cold. As the winter of 1941 to 1942 dragged on, the situation within Leningrad grew increasingly dire. The city's inhabitants, already weakened by malnutrition and exhaustion, were now forced to confront the very real possibility of starvation. It was during this period that the infamous bread cards were introduced, a system designed to ration what little food remained. However, with supplies dwindling and distribution often chaotic, these cards frequently proved worthless, leaving many to face the harsh reality of hunger without recourse. The Lake Ladoga route, also known as the Road of Life, became a lifeline for the besieged city during this time. From January 1942 onwards, convoys of trucks, often driven by volunteers who had never before been behind the wheel, braved treacherous ice roads to bring in vital supplies and evacuate civilians. This perilous journey, undertaken in temperatures that could drop as low as 40 degrees Celsius, was fraught with danger. Many did not survive the crossing, succumbing either to the extreme cold or to bombardments by German aircraft. Yet, despite these risks, the Road of Life remained operational throughout the siege, a testament to the resilience and determination of those who kept it open. One of the most significant events of 1942 was the attempt by the Soviet military to break through the German encirclement. The Sinyavino Offensive, launched in August 1942, aimed to create a land corridor into Leningrad. Although initially successful, the offensive ultimately failed to achieve its strategic objectives, and at great cost, over 100,000 casualties were suffered by both sides during the operation. Despite this setback, the offensive did manage to slightly ease the pressure on Leningrad, allowing for increased supplies to be transported via the Road of Life. The winter of 1942 to 1943 saw a continuation of the desperate struggle for survival within Leningrad. However, as the months passed, there were signs that the tide of the war was beginning to turn in favor of the Soviet Union. The Battle of Stalingrad, fought from August 1942 to February 1943, marked a major turning point on the Eastern Front as German forces suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of the Red Army. This victory had significant implications for Leningrad. With the German army weakened and in retreat, the siege of the city began to loosen. January 1943 saw the launch of Operation Iskra, Spark, a joint operation by the Leningrad and Volkhov fronts, aimed at creating a land corridor into Leningrad. After several days of intense fighting, on January 18, 1943, Soviet forces managed to break through the German lines, establishing a narrow strip of land that connected Leningrad with the rest of Russia. This corridor, though subject to constant bombardment and still perilous, marked the beginning of the end for the siege. Supplies could now be transported more easily into the city, and while conditions remained harsh, there was a glimmer of hope that had not been seen in over a year. The period following Operation Iskra saw significant improvements in the situation within Leningrad. With the land corridor secure, more substantial supplies of food, medicine, and other essentials began to arrive in the city. The evacuation of civilians also accelerated, with hundreds of thousands of residents transported to safety beyond the siege lines. However, even as the siege was slowly being lifted, the legacy of those years would leave an indelible mark on Leningrad. The once vibrant cultural and intellectual hub had been forever changed by its ordeal, its population decimated, and its infrastructure in ruins. As 1943 gave way to 1944, the Soviet military prepared for a final push to liberate Leningrad fully. On January 14, 1944, the Leningrad-Novgorod offensive was launched, aimed at driving German forces back from the city and breaking the siege once and for all. After days of fierce combat, on January 27, 1944, Soviet troops reached the outskirts of Leningrad, and the siege, which had lasted for 872 days, was officially declared over. The liberation of Leningrad marked a significant victory for the Soviet Union, but it came at an unimaginable cost. Over 1 million people had lost their lives during the siege, with countless more affected by its aftermath. As the siege was finally lifted, the city of Leningrad began the long and arduous process of recovery. The once vibrant cultural and intellectual hub had been forever changed by its ordeal, with the population decimated and infrastructure in ruins. The Soviet government launched a massive reconstruction effort, pouring resources into rebuilding homes, factories, and institutions. Despite these efforts, the city would never fully regain its pre-war glory, and the memories of the siege would haunt its residents for generations to come. In the years following the siege, Leningrad became a symbol of Soviet resilience and determination. The city's defiance in the face of overwhelming odds had inspired a nation, and its people were hailed as heroes. As one survivor recalled, the siege was not just a test of our endurance, but a testament to our unwavering commitment to our city, our country, and our way of life. This sense of pride and purpose would stay with the people of Leningrad, shaping their identity and informing their actions in the decades to come. As the years passed, the siege became an integral part of Soviet historiography, with its legacy used to promote national unity and patriotic fervor. The city's experience was immortalized in literature, art, and film, with works like Alexander Fedayev's The Young Guard and Dmitry Shostakovich's Leningrad Symphony becoming classics of Soviet culture. These works not only captured the horrors of the siege, but also celebrated the bravery and selflessness of its survivors. Today, the Siege of Leningrad is remembered as one of the most significant events of World War II, a testament to the devastating consequences of war and the unbreakable spirit of those who endured it. The city, now known as St. Petersburg, continues to commemorate the siege with solemn ceremonies and tributes, honoring the memory of the over 1 million people who lost their lives during the 872-day ordeal. The city's story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of preserving our cultural heritage and honoring the memories of those who have come before us. As the Russian writer and siege survivor Daniil Granin once said, "The siege was a crucible that tested our humanity, and it is up to us to ensure that its lessons are never forgotten." That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.